But there's also just, plenty of just Sherlock Holmes and the two sticky glue and shit like that.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Yowza.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's some things going on in the world, aren't there?
Just maybe one or two.
Just a few.
Just a few things. I just want to tell everybody that we here at Cinemasins and the SinCast are with the Black Lives Matter movement. We support it. I think that there is a tendency to say that you are not for it because of rioters and looters and things of that nature. And to me, those are distractions from the actual message. I feel like when we focus on rioters and looters and things like that, we are purposefully obfuscating the message that is being put out there. Mm-hmm. And I think it makes some people feel better about not supporting one movement because there is something else going on out there that they'd rather focus on. And so it's something that we sort of felt that we needed to put out there. And I know that some people probably out there don't like the idea of us bringing this up, but I thought we should. There was a tweet that a friend gave me from a poker vlogger, of all people, that said, whether it's due to genuine misunderstanding, lack of education on the history of our systems, or something more sinister, when someone replies to Black Lives Matter with All Lives Matter, they are missing/ignoring the inherent TOO after BLM. And that's from Andrew Nemi. I also think that some people are adding an only to that. Like, we don't know what the three of us do not know what it's like to be black in this country. But you know what? I've also heard this happens everywhere. This is a worldwide problem. And the reason why we don't hear about more George Floyds from like Spain or from France or whatever. This was told to me by somebody who regularly talks to me on Facebook, is that there are different news organizations in each country, and they're not as big as like a CNN or whatever. And it's pretty much stays in those countries. So you don't see those type of things from other countries all over the place. Anyway, we don't know what it's like to be black. None of us do. It's, you hear this message enough, I tend to believe it, right? It's something that's been going on for years and years and years and years. I don't mean to be glib. I'd make a glib comparison, but when I was working in movie theaters, if I heard a bunch of people come out and say something was wrong with the movie, I didn't not believe them. Like I would go and try to go fix it. Yeah. You always knew who was like trying to get refund passes and who was actually concerned about the problem. But I don't mean to make a glib comparison, but like enough, you hear this enough and it's like, it's time to believe. It's time to change things. Yeah. And so we are firmly behind it.
Yeah. At the risk of, I think we should probably just kill it pretty quick after that and not say too much, because I don't want to look performative, right? But I don't think the fact that we are white should mean we should stay silent about this issue. And I think there is a great need for allies. And that's all I was trying to do with my tweets. And that's all we're trying to do here is say that, we will continue to listen and learn and do what we can to be allies to the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's probably true across the entire company, which is only 6 people. But that we fully support this movement, and I think it was worth saying for sure. So.
Yeah, if there's any doubt as to where our allegiances lie or where our opinions lie, our support lie, wanted to make that explicitly clear. I've got more to say that has to do with my family that I'll pause right now. But yes, I echo everything that Chris and Jeremy said.
Well, and I just also one more tag on this is I don't think this is a political statement we're making. I don't think this is a political issue. If you want to respond to this by saying leave politics out of it, we did. This is not politics. This surpasses that, and I have nothing else to say. Sorry.
No, we could go in great depth. I actually had a lot of things prepared just in case it did, but yeah, I'm fine with leaving it at that. Yeah, I felt like it was necessary to bring that up, and now I guess we'll get into what we normally get into on the SinCast, which is we're going to complete our road trip today.
On the road again.
The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Road trip.
Road trip. I call it reverse shotgun. British shotgun.
We left off after the R's last time, and we're now in the S's. And it starts off with a good one, man. I haven't seen it, but it's a good one. Scenes of a sexual nature.
Oh, it sounds good.
Yeah, it really sounds evocative, doesn't it? What's funny about this is that sex is mentioned. It's episodic. It's a bunch of vignettes. It's a bunch of people in Hampstead Heath, which I guess is like Boston Commons, Central Park, something like that, in London. And they're all like laying down, they're picnicking, and they're, talking and stuff like that. It's very dialogue driven. There's no sex in this movie. It's just talked about. And it's got a terrific cast, man. It's got Ewan McGregor, Tom Hardy's in this, Andrew Lincoln, Eileen Atkins, Hugh Bonneville, Catherine Tate, who's tremendous in this. So I'd totally recommend this one just for the dialogue alone and the kind of interesting situations that they're working through.
Yeah, it looks like Adrian Lester from Primary Colors is in this. Sophie Okonedo is in this as well. Mark Strong.
Yeah.
God, Mark Strong is in everything.
He really is. Gina McKee, who a lot of people have seen in The Loop. A lot of good people in this. Yeah, is it good?
Yeah, it's very, very good.
Yeah,
it's. Right. I love these dialogue-driven, smart, funny. Even the vignette type of things like Coffee and Cigarettes, the Jim Jarmusch movie that came out not too long ago. Like that's just my jam. So this is very much like that, just not as artsy.
Next on the list is Scrooge / all the Christmas Carol movies. What's our favorite ones? I know a lot of people like the George C. Scott one.
A lot of people like this one. They say the Albert Finney one is the best.
Well, the Muppets is the right answer, but I think a lot of people wouldn't consider that to be like a true, for some reason, like I don't know, Christmas film purists or what have you. We always watched the musical with all the songs. Who
was the Scrooge in that one?
I think it was Albert Finney. Is that the one you're talking about?
That's the 1970 one, right?
Yeah, I think that's the one with all the singing.
Yeah, it's the one with all the singing.
And my wife grew up watching the George C. Scott one. And so when I showed her the musical one, she was like, what's with all these stupid songs? And when I watched the George C. Scott one, I was like, where's all the fucking songs?
I grew up with Scrooged, so that was my favorite. Muppet Christmas Carol, I think, takes the taco at this point. But
takes the taco.
I still love me some Scrooge. That movie was made by cocaine, and I love it. It's just so 1980s.
Did you say Scrooged?
Yeah, the Bill Murray one.
Oh, okay. Isn't that a New York one though? Isn't that relocated to New York?
Yeah. But it's a Christmas story, a Christmas Carol.
Yeah. But it's a little bit away from our road trip though, Barrett.
That is true. Just a wee bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I don't know if I have a favorite. I think the George C. Scott is the one that I've seen the most, as well. That Jim Carrey one, the Robert Zemeckis animated one, did not do much for me.
No, it's really well done, and it's really close to the original source material.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just that it came out when we were too old for it to really like connect with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Mickey's Christmas Carol was the one that I remember watching. That was the first one that I ever saw, first iteration of that story. And it was before. It was a short that was before some movie that came out in the early '80s, and I can't remember which one it is right now. We've even discussed that before.
Yeah, and then they replayed it every year. I have these weird associations with that movie or that short or that cartoon. I remember very specifically them like slicing the bean so thinly because that's the only thing that they could get. I also remember that it was always associated with the McRib because the McRib would only make an appearance in like December for some reason. And so I would always get a McRib if I can watch Mickey's Christmas Carol. It's weird. Life is weird.
You do know that the McRib now it's been revealed. They basically only bring that out when the pork price drops to a certain low point, and they buy a bunch of it, and the McRib is back, and they just don't. They don't want to pay the normal pork price to put it on the menu forever.
There you go.
So there you go.
It's still delicious.
Hey, America, McDonald's is still smarter than you.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were saying my nickname.
Yeah. Andy Serkis is Ian Jury. Is a new wave icon. What was he a part of? Ian Jury.
He was a part of a bunch of different groups. The Blockheads was one. He did some solo stuff, and that was the main thing. He was just like a new wave, like pioneer, one of those like Andy Warhol types where he was everywhere, and kind of mixed in with New Order and with Joy Division, and Andy Serkis is really good in this. Only saw it once, but I remember enjoying it.
There's an episode of Frasier. Apologies if I told this story 4 years ago. Just like there's in Seinfeld, where the new upstairs neighbor is a rock and roll band. And so Frasier and Daphne and Martin can't get any sleep, and they're all mindlessly singing this death and burning, na 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 na, flesh is burning, na na. At one point in the middle of the episode, when Frasier's just fed up with their rock and roll, he screams up at the ceiling, "Doesn't anyone have time for sex and drugs?"
That's awesome.
Next one on the list is Sexy Beast. This is the Ben Kingsley tour de force role. He is fucking great in this. I think is it Ray Winstone who's the other guy in this? It has been a while since I've seen it. It came on recently, and I saw like the ending of it, and just Ben Kingsley, just so brutally good in this movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember I think he may have gotten nominated. I don't think he won, but
he got nominated.
Yeah. Sexy Beast. What do we know about that? What do we want to say?
Sex Beast.
Yeah, Sexy Beast. Yeah.
Well, the guy Ray Winstone used to be a gangster, and he got out of the life somehow, kind of like a John Wick type of thing. And so Ben Kingsley, this badass gangster, comes down to recruit him to go back into a job that Ian McShane is arranging and all that. And he actually Ben Kingsley isn't in the movie all that much. Like because he stays at the villa, I think, and while Ray Winstone does the work. And this movie is just kinetic and funny, and he's hilarious while also being intimidating, and it's really good. Jeremy, have you seen this one?
Nope.
He says something in that you will need the subtitles, by the way.
Oh
There's a scene in here. I think it may even be the Oscar clip where because Winstone is just giving him this whole I'm not going to do this, I'm out, I'm blah blah blah, and it's like your answer isn't supposed to be no, your answer is supposed to be yes, your answer is supposed to be yes, and he's good, and then there's a point where he just breaks out and he just go like yes 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 yes.
Yeah, he's so good in this. I don't know what in 2000. I don't know who won the award over him. Maybe did Joaquin Phoenix win?
No, Joaquin Phoenix won his first one last year.
Denzel.
It
Denzel
may have been
for Training Day. Was he supporting?
No, in 2000, supporting actor. Let me see.
I just like saying Denzel.
Well, it's
You've
a
got
good guess.
I mean, he did do Training Day and he did win the Oscar that year.
Well, that was for 2001. The 2002 Oscars, he would have gotten that. Yes. Maybe this movie says 2000 on the IMDb, but it came out in 2001, and that probably would be Denzel. And Jeremy would be right.
I also liked saying Denzel, even if I'm right.
Jim Broadbent for Iris won that year.
I'm wrong.
Weird.
Okay.
Weird.
Weird.
I tried to explain that scene in Death Wish to somebody the other day. It's just impossible. You have to see it.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke was nominated, by the way, that year. Ian McKellen for Fellowship of the Ring, and John Voight for Ali, and Jim fucking Broadbent won that.
Yeah.
Over Ben Kingsley, Ethan Hawke,
John Voight's car.
Yeah, you would think that the Ben Kingsley one would have wooed everybody, but
Jesus Christ,
I have not seen Iris, so I don't know. But I'm going to assume that they're wrong.
They usually are.
Shanghai Knights, the sequel to Shanghai Noon.
Oh boy!
This teams up Jackie Chan with Owen Wilson, and hilarity ensues.
Wow!
A second time.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I did mention the Shanghai Noon, by the way.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
But this is they go to England and it rains all the time, and Owen Wilson's like, England blows.
Yeah, it's like the fish out of water reversed, and it's pretty forgettable, man. I mean, Shanghai Noon is pretty forgettable, but at least when I first watched Shanghai Noon, I had a good time. The first time I watched Shanghai Knights, it's like, the same thing in reverse.
Yeah.
All I'm just saying is most people don't remember that Littlefinger is the bad guy in this movie.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Is that Aidan Gillen?
Yeah, there's a sword fight inside Big Ben. And then there's that one joke that always makes me laugh that I've said before, where they're hanging off the arms of Big Ben, and Owen Wilson goes, I can see our hotel from here.
Of course. It's amazing. Aidan Gillen, like I knew him for the longest time as the mayor of Baltimore in The Wire.
Right.
And then he just went and did something even more iconic after that, and you can't look at him without thinking of Littlefinger anymore.
Yeah.
But like all through the first 2 seasons, I was just like, that's that mayor guy from The Wire.
Hey, your boy Donnie Yen is in this.
Donnie Yen is in what?
Shanghai Knights.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, that's how forgettable that movie is. You forget that Donnie Yen is in it.
Yeah. This was, I guess, towards this is where Jackie Chan was still kind of getting some action. I don't know. The Rush Hour series was obviously big, and then they kept trying to pair him with other comedic actors, and
like Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Is that the tuxedo?
Tuxedo, yeah. I watched that movie.
Yes, well-known comedian Jennifer Love Hewitt. She was Laugh Riot on Party of Five.
Holy shit! Oh Jesus!
Next on the list, Shakespeare in Love. Directed by John Madden.
You know, if this movie hadn't fucked over Saving Private Ryan, I think I could speak decently highly of this movie. I think it's a charming little movie.
Yeah.
But the disparity between those two and the overall quality, when you say Shakespeare in Love, I want to grumble. I want to.
Yeah. I know.
But it's not a bad movie. I enjoyed it. I've seen it twice.
Yeah.
You know, Ben Affleck is in it. How bad could it be?
God, he is definitely the worst part of it.
Oh, yeah, he is for sure. You know what I love about you English? Octopussy. I must have seen that movie twice.
I caught this fairly recently and liked it a lot less than I remember it. I do like the dialogue because it's your boy Tom Stoppard wrote it or co-wrote it.
He is my boy.
But there's a lot of Americans doing British accents poorly, including Gwyneth Paltrow in this movie. And it's I did not like it as much as I did before.
Yeah, this is, I don't know if this is the start of this kind of genre of film where it focuses on a writer and their everyday life is what contributed to their works. It's like it actually, I don't know if it becomes overbearing in this movie where just everywhere Shakespeare goes, he seems to run into something that it becomes inspiration for a later thing that he wrote or whatever. There is a lot of those references in this thing. I believe Judi Dench got nominated for her like 5 minutes of screen time in this movie.
Did.
Yeah, she Sean Connery that shit, didn't she?
She did. She did. This was the year you had this weird year in '98 where it was 3 World War II era films. You had Saving Private Ryan, The Thin Red Line, and you had Life is Beautiful, all up for Best Picture. And then you had 2 Elizabethan era movies. You had Elizabeth. So Kate Blanchett was nominated for being Queen Elizabeth, the same Queen Elizabeth, but a younger version. And then you had Judi Dench nominated for being Queen Elizabeth, the older version. But what a very strange year. And yeah, if there was any sort of like evidence that you wanted to point to that the Oscars may get bought a lot of times, it's this weird thing where it's like, let's give Shakespeare in Love the Best Picture, but give Spielberg his due as well as the director of Saving Private Ryan, even though that movie's clearly better. Let's give Shakespeare in Love the trophy there. I don't know how that all works.
It's crazy that Queen Elizabeth was queen during Shakespeare times and all the way up through today.
You're right. I mean,
she's
she
been queen
is
a long time.
400 years old.
Dude, she's old. She's old. Have you seen her?
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of like this movie too, and I think it's in the same boat with Jeremy. There is just the fact that it beat Saving Private Ryan. It just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't and I would be fine with it. It'd be a nice little discovery, I guess, if it had not won Best Picture. You'd be like, oh, this movie's kind of good. I mean, I don't think it should have won Best Picture or anything, but good.
Yep.
Yes, all the Sherlock Holmes movies.
All of them.
All of them. There are a million of them. There are hundreds of them probably at this point. I've seen an old version of Hound of the Baskervilles. I can't remember who played.
I saw that.
It was a 1940, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I saw that.
I have to look this up. I can't remember who played Sherlock Holmes in that.
It was Queen Elizabeth.
It was Queen Elizabeth. It was Basil Rathbone.
Oh,
Basil.
yeah.
I have a basil plant outside. I named it Basil.
There are several Hound of the Baskervilles that have been made over the years, but that was the one that I saw, 1939 one. But there's also just, plenty of just Sherlock Holmes and the two sticky glue and shit like that.
It's like a Hardy Boys one.
Yeah,
This glue's too sticky.
This glue is too sticky. So that's what we call Sherlock Holmes.
That's
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, this glue's too sticky. How can we get somebody to figure this mystery out?
The case of the too sticky glue.
I'm looking up Sherlock Holmes right now to see all the different titles that there are.
There are 63 adaptations of Sherlock
Holy
Holmes,
shit.
apparently. Including ones we'll talk about later, like Without a Clue and stuff like that.
Many just called Sherlock Holmes. Some are like Sherlock Holmes Returns and the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes and the Private Life
Sherlock
of
Gnomes.
Right. There's the ones that we know the best are the Robert Downey Jr. one that Guy Ritchie did 2 of those. We also know the Benedict Cumberbatch BBC Sherlock. And there's young Sherlock Holmes, which was a big thing in the 80s where you had young everything.
That was maybe my favorite up until the Cumberbatch series.
Mm-hmm.
Now, young Sherlock Holmes could have examined the too sticky glue.
Could
that was
have.
right in his purview.
Glue is too sticky. God damn.
But Chris Columbus wrote the young Sherlock Holmes. It was directed by Barry Levinson.
Yeah, and I think Spielberg was a producer on that too.
Spielberg did young Indiana Jones and young Sherlock Holmes.
I don't know if he was or not. Henry Winkler was actually a producer on this one.
Spielberg was a producer on young Sherlock Holmes, and I believe he was also, what was the other one that you just said?
Young Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
with,
young Indiana Jones.
What's his name?
Who was
Flannery.
that?
Not Flannery.
Oh, Sean Patrick Flannery?
Yeah, Sean Patrick Flannery.
Okay, I was right. I was right for once.
Powder.
I like that one a lot, too.
Powder.
Actually, it looks like Spielberg wasn't a producer on the young Indiana Jones. George Lucas was, but
that's interesting.
That is interesting. You would
have thought he would have taken at least a few $1,000 just for
right. He probably did. Found a way.
Sure.
But yeah, in the 80s, it was like young Einstein, and it was like young Sherlock Holmes,
young everybody, young Frankenstein.
Yeah, young Frankenstein. But is there any particular favorite Sherlock Holmes of yours at all? Is that
my favorite is the Sherlock Holmes in the case of the 2 runny eggs.
The 2 runny eggs. Yes. I think that was the team up with the 3 investigators. They got that one really. They nailed that one down.
I would probably say Cumberbatch is my favorite, and I've never seen any of the Cumberbatch ones. Because I don't like the Robert Downey Jr. ones,
right?
And I never saw a young Sherlock Holmes, and I don't remember the older ones that I saw very well. And I think Cumberbatch is awesome, so I'll go with that. I saw an episode of Elementary, which is an Americanized Lucy Liu version, and it was not good. So
yeah, that has Johnny Lee Miller as the guy.
Yeah, or as I call him, Angelina Jolie's ex-husband.
Right.
I thought it was all right.
There of course been many like things that have spun off of Sherlock Holmes as well. You had House, the whole TV series House was basically that. Zero Effect is Sherlock Holmes essentially. So yeah, a major influential story. But there's not many that you point to that are just great movies. There's the Cumberbatch BBC thing is probably the best thing that we have. I mean, I don't know. The Hound of the Baskervilles from '39. That's a good movie. I don't wouldn't go back and be like, oh, they got to go back to that and revisit that,
Yeah, and the Robert Downey Jr. ones, especially the first one, is not unwatchable, but it's just so fucking Guy Ritchie that it takes the piss out of Sherlock Holmes. He's a fucking bare knuckle boxer that can think in advance and plan and all this, and it just doesn't make sense. When they do it with the Cumberbatch one, where you see the images of what he's putting together in his head, it can go a little far, but at least that makes more sense than something like the Robert Downey Jr. character.
Yeah. Next on the list is Shine. This is sort of Jeffrey Rush's introduction into the, I guess, being a famous actor, because this was the first time I had ever heard of him. And he puts in a great performance in this movie. I haven't seen this in forever.
Right.
Is this Lynn Redgrave that's in this one?
Yes.
Yeah, Lynn Redgrave.
Is this the piano one where he plays Flight of the Bumblebee on the piano?
Well, I think he does play that, but he plays the Rachmaninoff too. Or the Rock 3 is the one that makes him have his psychotic break.
What I most remember about this movie is right when the end credits hit, that Collective Soul song "Shine," that guitar lick.
I know, it's crazy. It just seems out of place. Like they shouldn't have done that. It's so weird.
I know. It's weird.
No, this movie is amazing. He's a prodigy, and he goes to London to study music, and he's learned all these classics and everything. But the one that he wanted to perform, I believe it's the Rock 3. The Rachmaninoff's Third Concerto, which is thought to be virtually unplayable by anybody but Sergei Rachmaninoff himself, which I actually have a couple of copies of those recordings of him doing it. It's impossible, and so he becomes so obsessed with this that he develops a psychotic break, and basically everything is taken away from him. And he's brilliant but broken.
I remember when I went to piano camp when I was 14, which I'm ashamed of. I was like, okay, a piano camp, that'll be fun. A week of other piano players with, intense training and recitals and whatnot. And there was this girl there who, when she found out not only that I couldn't play Rachmaninoff music, but that I had never even heard of him, she ignored me the rest of the entire week.
Mm-hmm.
And she played. It wasn't
Is this
obviously
a true story.
Yes, it wasn't obviously this one piece you're talking about, but at the end of the week recital, she played some impossible Rachmaninoff piece, and everybody was like, "Holy crap, she's female piano Jesus!" And I was like, "She's a bitch."
Mm-hmm.
All right then.
This one is on my list of shame, I guess. Sid and Nancy. Have not seen this.
Man, let me just tell you, I hated this movie.
Oh, really?
And I think the performances are why people like it, and that and their overall general affinity for Sid Vicious, or is that who it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I only watched it because it's Gary Oldman, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was on an Oldman kick, and he's great. The movie made me feel empty and dead. And
and that's probably due to the constant heroin abuse.
Yeah, man, it's not a
characters.
fun. It's like the Requiem for a Dream of biopics.
It is. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, the Sex Pistols were famously a flash in the pan, a big flash. But they put out the one album, then never mind the Bullocks, and they became self-destructive. Johnny Rotten went on to actually form another band, Public Image Ltd. But Sid Vicious just went down this, like you said, kind of gross, empty path. Along with him was his girlfriend, Nancy Spungen, who contributed to his downfall. And the movie ends very abruptly and very interestingly. They actually chose an explanation for her eventual death, which I was not aware of. And I guess I don't want to spoil it. It's from 1986. But yeah, it's really interesting, especially if you're into music and music history and stuff like that, but it ain't a pleasant watch. But Oldman is, you think you've seen every facet of Gary Oldman. You never seen him like this before.
No.
Because, Sid Vicious was into carving stuff into his chest during performances and stuff like that. He was mimicking doing that. Like, he's amazing in this.
Yeah, he's amazing in that Beethoven movie, but it's still a snore.
Fuck you, man. That A More to Beloved is awesome.
No, it's not. I mean, he's good in it, but that movie is a snoozer. If I need to go to bed, I put that movie on.
Is this week's Robin Hood Prince of Thieves?
I hope not.
Immortal Beloved.
I hope not.
It's a beautiful movie with beautiful music.
Okay, you can have it. I'll give it to you.
More Gwyneth Paltrow being having an English accent, I believe. Sliding Doors is a movie that I don't think did anything when it came out, but now it's shorthand for any time a movie does the whole "what if this happened instead," and so like Sliding Doors basically shows you what would have happened had Gwyneth Paltrow gotten off the subway or whatever in a quicker fashion or whatever. In one case, she comes home and sees her fiance cheating on her, and the other she never sees it. And what her life would be like in both instances. So it keeps going back and forth between what's happening in, I guess, both parallel universes and everything. Do we like this movie? I haven't seen this in forever.
I saw it once
since '98.
I saw it once, and I remember thinking it was charming. But you're right; it has become the go-to term. Even though I'm not sure this is the first film or show to ever do this, but there's a whole Frasier comes up. There's a whole Frasier episode, might even be called "Sliding Doors," the episode title, where it does this with a girl that Frasier, like, basically he has a terrible day in one and an awesome day in the other. But I remember thinking it was charming. I just haven't seen it since. It's got the Four Weddings and a Funeral guy in it, right? The guy that did the poem.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I'm looking at Frasier episode. Sliding Frasiers. There you go.
Oh, that's
it
funny.
came out in 2001.
So 3 years later.
So they were doing a take on that
for sure.
But
John Hannah, is that who you're looking for, Jeremy?
Yeah, he's in a million things. I'm pretty sure that's the guy.
Yeah, Four Weddings and a Funeral. Yeah,
that's him.
But yeah, I thought this was pretty charming when I saw it as well, but I haven't seen it since. How about you, Barrett? You said you like it?
Same thing. I think it was fine. Gwyneth Paltrow. This is '98. I mean, this is really the prime of her career. Between I like Great Expectations, Sliding Doors. Wasn't she in that Proof movie that came out around this time? Mm-hmm. Shakespeare in Love. Like, she was really just absolutely dominant. The Bounce. Fucking duets.
Yeah. Duets. Her and Huey Lewis.
I know that we'll be cruising together.
John Hannah, the reason I remember him from Four Weddings and a Funeral is he's the guy at the funeral who does that reading of that Stop All the Clocks poem. And I don't know if you remember that movie or that moment, but that moment is super emotional. He gives an incredible reading of what is a classic poem as a eulogy, and that's what he's always stuck to my mind as the Four Weddings and a Funeral guy.
Yeah, I have seen that movie maybe twice, but the last time I saw it was a long time ago, so I don't remember that scene. But I remember that being good too. Well,
listen, there are four weddings and a funeral.
Yeah,
so you're basically saying you don't remember a whole 20% of the movie.
Well, that's right. That's very true. Yeah, you caught me red-handed. What can I say?
Yeah. What color are their hands now?
Yes. Then Snatch. Guy Ritchie's Snatch. That was his follow-up to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It's got the same kind of deal, where there's multiple twisting storylines all converging into one thing by the end. Brad Pitt in one of his craziest performances. trying to speak that what's the dialect in that?
The gypsy dialect.
It's a gypsy dialect.
It's an Irish gypsy specific dialect. Now, I've heard people say that this is one of the worst accents in the history of accents. I don't know what that's supposed to sound like, but I thought it's awesome.
Well,
like, he's barely understandable.
To me, you could also just interpret the fact that he may not be an Irish gypsy, and he's just doing that as an affect of some sort.
That's true. That's true.
But there's something in there where he's like, I want you to get the furniture back in the place. Some weird thing about furniture in there, like a big furniture rant. I haven't seen Snatch in a long time. But no, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, and there's no real reason for it. It's just that I always pick Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels when it comes time for me to watch a Guy Ritchie crime film. That's the movie I always gravitate towards. And Snatch, I have it. It's in the office. I have that movie. But I need to revisit this because I know it's good. It just feels very samey to Lock, Stock. So,
Do you also have Snatched, the Amy Schumer, Goldie Hawn?
I do have that. Those two movies are side by side in my alphabetical collection.
Man, I can't wait until the day where there's a movie that can slide in between those two snatches. I can't wait either. You know what? I may have to make a special exception for my movie called Dick and Balls to go in between. Just take it out of the alphabetical list. I was just thinking mathematically, there's bound to be a movie eventually called Snatchy. Right?
Yeah, let me see what in the history of the world let's see, Snatched. There's Body Snatchers. A movie like Snatchers would go after Snatched.
Yes, it'd have to be Snatchy.
No,
Snatchy would
Snatched.
too.
Oh,
unless you were.
It would have to be like
Snatchia.
It would have to be something that starts with Snatch and goes on.
Snatcha.
It would have to be like, let's see, The Mirror Snatched.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Listen, I haven't had this much fun doing a podcast in months.
Next one on the list is Spice World.
Yeah.
I have
shake
seen
it to the left if you're having a good time. Shake it to the right if you're shake it to.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
I built this movie. I watched this movie. I liked this movie.
Yeah,
you did.
Spice World came out in, I think, January of '98. And they did it right. Like, they did the movie right at the height of their popularity. They didn't like do this thing where like, hey, the Spice Girls are really, really popular right now. Let's develop a movie over the next year or two and then come out with it. Like they did when they did that Cool as Ice, when Vanilla Ice was already like completely like out of the consciousness of every human being. Like, let's come out with Cool as Ice 3 years after he was popular. But Spice World, I don't remember much about this movie at all. Is it about them going on tour or some shit?
And they're trying to make it to a concert, I think at Wembley Stadium or something
Meatloaf
like that.
is their driver.
Is their driver. And they get into all kinds of shenanigans. It's delightful.
I guess he finally did that. But I haven't seen it in forever. I think this was, I for whatever reason, I remember because I was at MTSU at the time, and Jonathan and a guy named Brian, they had this movie review show, this like local cable access movie review show, and every once in a while I'd guest on it, and Spice World was one of the ones that I was on the episode reviewing that movie.
It's delightful, man. There's it's got it's doesn't take itself too seriously, which is really, really cool. Like, and there's some genuinely funny stuff in there. Like, Alan Cumming is like the director, like this is Spinal Tap type of director that's trying to get footage and stuff like that. And they keep foiling him with the shots, like he's setting up shots and he's not able to get it. And Richard E. Grant is their tour manager and all that. It's just so much fun. It's just so much fun. I love the Spice Girls. I unironically love the Spice Girls. Jeremy, did you say you liked this movie?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I built it. I watched it. I enjoyed it. That's literally Meatloaf. That's all I remember. And I had a crush on at least two of them because I was like 22.
Which ones?
The sporty one and the posh one.
Sporty, posh, baby,
not
ginger,
baby. Not
and
ginger. Scary. I wasn't attracted to Scary, and posh was too cutesy. And I don't remember the other one you just said.
Ginger?
I just the two brunettes. I thought they were both they'd make good Jeremy friends.
Well, so you did like posh. You
then
like
David
Victoria
Beckham came in and stole all my thunder.
I had a
right.
Spice Girls poster up in my bathroom.
Nice. Was it? Did you paste it over the NKOTB poster that you had there before?
I don't know why that came up. I just remember staring at it because you stare at the stuff in your bathroom all the time because you're getting ready and you're doing other things.
Yeah, I get boners getting ready too.
In my bathroom.
Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. We've discussed before. This might be maybe the last Tim Burton movie that we can tolerate. I don't know.
I'll tell you what, Helena Bonham Carter is the reason to see this movie, not even Johnny Depp. Like, she can carry a tune. She's got the great accent. She's going all out. And Johnny Depp, he's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The songs are really good.
I don't remember this. I know I saw it. I just don't remember much about it at all. I think I was in that phase of being very forgetful of what Johnny and Burton were doing.
Mm-hmm. This is like R-rated, and it's it's dark as fuck, darkly comic. This is the exact type of thing that I feel like Tim Burton should be doing. These type of things, but anyway, that's the last movie that I remember really liking from Tim Burton. And the songs are good. The songs are good. You have Sacha Baron Cohen in there showing up.
Oh yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah.
A Tale of Two Cities. I don't think I've ever seen an adaptation of A Tale of Two Cities.
Oh really? I think this is one of those ones that we watched at school to shorthand so that we didn't have to get into the verboseness that was Charles Dickens.
Right. I read the Scott Forsman version of A Tale of Two Cities. I've never read the book. Just the passages that they want you to read or whatever.
And I never read the book. I don't think I've seen a movie of this, but it's still one of the most famous opening lines to a book of all time.
It's got to be like number one
for some reason. But yeah, that always sounded pretty boring to me. So, like I said a couple weeks ago about Dickens, I'm just like,
well, I guess a lot of people like to focus on the warning that's in that first line. It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. They're talking about France being at the worst of times, but England is headed towards a France-like thing, is what he's basically saying in there. I believe, isn't that how you remember it, Barrett?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a warning. France is at the worst of times, and England is at their best of times.
They're at the Paris. Well, the two cities, I believe, are London and Paris. And Paris is during the Reign of Terror, which is just a crazy time in their history. So yeah, it's. I think it's about like almost like a Romeo and Juliet type of story, where the guy is trying to get to Paris to see his gal. That's my breakdown of Charles Dickens' classic, The Tale of Two Cities.
Such symbolism. I guess, I can't really tell you like much about it. And it's one of these all-time classics. And it feels like we're a bunch of Philistines when we talk about this, talk about Tale of Two Cities, but I don't know much else to say. I haven't ever seen any movies about it for sure. Three Men and a Little Lady.
Oh God! They went to London for one of those.
They did, man.
I did not remember that shit.
Yeah. They had to go over. One of the guys, Tom Selleck, I think, is boning the other girl.
This is better than your description of Tale of Two Cities.
What, Nancy Travis?
It's Nancy Travis. Yes, I think it's Tom Selleck and Nancy Travis are together, and she gets a job in London, and so they somehow work out a way for them to all go over. And by this time, she is now a little lady rather than a baby. She's
right.
Because
didn't they make 3 of these, or just the 2?
I only remember the 2.
Three men and a.
Yeah, they made
teenager.
they
That was a whole different movie, dude.
3 men and the.
Yeah, exactly.
3 men and the talk.
Yeah, there were 2 of these in America, but the first one was a remake of a French movie. The 3 Men and a Cradle was the. This was when America wanted to remake every French comedy that there was back in the day.
My Father, the Daughter. My
Yeah.
Father.
I totally remember that one.
La
Dude,
Cage Folie.
My Father, the Hero. That movie is fucked up, man.
It is. Is the French original that fucked up?
I think it might actually be.
Why is it so
more
fucked up?
Well,
Because they pretend to be a couple and she's like 12.
yeah, and Katherine Heigl said that later on, when she became an adult, she was like, back in the day, I did not know how, because there's a scene where she's in this like really teeny bikini walking around. And she's like, if I knew now what I knew then, I would not have done that scene.
Wow.
And so the laughs, quote unquote, come from the fact that they think that they're that people think they're a couple or whatever. And there's a point where Gerard Depardieu sings "Thank Goodness for Little Girls" to everybody.
God. Oh,
I don't think they go out and say that they're a couple. I just think that people have assumed that they are a couple. And that's where the jokes come in. So when he sings that song, everybody's like, "Oh shit, dirty old man singing about little girls," and stuff like that. But I think that the French version, I think it might be a little bit worse. I don't know.
Would surprise me.
How you say worse?
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I believe this was the first movie Gary Oldman got a nomination for.
Yeah, I think so. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy considering his body of work over the years. And this was his first nomination.
Now, I have not seen this, but so I was hoping one of you guys have.
I remember this being good, but very complex. And I need to see it again because it comes from one of those. I think it's a Jean Le Carre. Yeah, it's a John Le Carre spy novel. And there's just like millions of people in this movie and millions of characters. Here's the cast: Gary Oldman, Colin Firth, Tom Hardy, Mark Strong, John Hurt, Toby Jones, Kieran Hines, Benedict Cumberbatch. Let's see. Anybody?
Did you say
else?
Tom Hardy?
Yes,
Yeah, he did say Tom Hardy.
They're and all of those guys. Like it's one of those movies when you watch it, especially in this era, 2011. You're like, oh yeah, I know Tom Hardy, and you're like, what is it? Like you're just and like the whole time you're like, okay, like I need to pay attention to this guy, but then there's like other like real famous people that start showing up, and you're like. And I don't know, it starts getting confusing. There's so many characters and everything. Like I said, I need to see it again. But I remember I remember very much liking it, what I saw.
Everybody swears by this author and by this movie. I think they've made a couple of his books into movies. Jonathan would probably know more, but
the Russia House is one. The Sean Connery, Michelle Pfeiffer Russia House is a movie that came out in the early 90s. I never saw that one. Let me see. There was another one that was recent, I think, that they came out with.
Was his Russian accent as good as in The Hunt for Red October?
I'm sure it was brilliant. The Constant Gardener.
He gardens constantly, man.
Let's see. Yeah, he gardens constantly.
I mean, he's always out there gardening.
A Most Wanted Man. The Tailor of Panama. The Russia House came out in 1990. The Little Drummer
I saw The
Girl.
Tailor of Panama. That has Shine and Thomas Crown in it.
It does have Shine and Thomas Crown in it. It also has Halloween in it. And a special appearance from Braveheart, Brendan Gleeson. So yeah, there you go. Let's see. Taylor. Okay. Top Hat. Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've seen this, but I don't remember much about it. I know this is a classic.
Yeah, this is as prime Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers as you can get. I mean, he was. You ever watch any of those? Like late at night on TCM, they play those Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movies, and I find myself watching them constantly, just like I'm gardening constantly.
Right.
But it's truly amazing the way this guy moves. You know what I mean? Like he moves so effortlessly that it doesn't look human. It's like how Michael Jordan used to play basketball, where you're like, no, that shouldn't be humanly possible. But the guy, the way he moves his feet, the way he has this expression, it's amazing. And Top Hat is one of my favorites.
There was I was watching a movie with a bunch of people one day. It was another like singing and dancing movie. I don't remember the name of it, but one of the women watching it was like, this was considered masculine back then. She wasn't saying that derisively. She was just saying this was considered masculine. This was real men shit back in the day. It's somebody who could do this type of thing and everything. And over the years, it just sort of became like watered down as like not manly or whatever. But the shit that they're doing is fucking amazing in these things.
It's just as athletic as a basketball game or a soccer match or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
This guy was just absolutely pure, like, rhythm. I don't know. It's crazy.
I need to revisit that movie, but I remember that being good. Topsy-Turvy, yet another Mike Leigh movie that I've somehow just not seen. And I like Mike Leigh movies, the ones that I have seen, but like every time it seemed like he came out with one, it was always like scheduled in a weird way. I could never go out to see it wherever it was in the one theater that it came out in. And so there are a lot of these Mike Leigh movies that come up that I haven't seen, and I heard this is great, Topsy-Turvy. Jim Broadbent's in this.
It is, but it's just a little boring. And it used to be my girlfriend's dad's favorite movie. And so he would always put it on the weekends I was over there. And I watched it a million times and I fell asleep to it a million times. It's perfectly good. Huh?
It's about Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yes. It's perfectly good, but a little bit boring. And it can kiss my ass.
Okay. Next movie on the list, V for Vendetta. You're evil. You're evil.
Episode on this shit. Oh, man, this movie has never been more timely. If you haven't seen it in a while, put this shit in, and you will see how easily it could go from where we are today to where this movie and graphic novel depicts. It's a slippery slope. But it's also, I think, I think it's properly rated now, but for the first 10 years after it came out, I think it was underrated. The Wachowskis produced this, which is probably the only reason it ever got my attention in the first place, because I'm a big Matrix lover. But everybody's good in this. Natalie Portman's good in this. Matrix guy who doesn't ever take off the mask is good in this. Hugo Weaving. I got it. Haha. Big British TV guy who turns out to be gay is good. The Crying Game is good. Everybody in this movie is good, and it's just, when I first saw it, I was like, it felt like a comic fantasy, and when you watch it today, I don't know, it hits a little home. Hits home a little more.
Is this set in the future? Is it supposed to be in the future?
Yes,
Okay.
Where there is a religious dictatorial leader, state-run television, closed off from the rest of the world. The kind of thing that again, it felt like a fantasy story when I read it, but I could see a couple different countries going that way in the next 10 years, and it's frightening. Anyway, there you go. I've already said too much.
We were talking about, how much 1984 is sort of in this, and John Hurt plays the dictator in this one, where he was the lowly worker in 1984.
Yeah.
V from Vendetta. I hated this movie when it came out.
Wow.
Hated it. And again, always know that when I first watch a movie back in this era, especially 2005, I was watching movies late at night, and sometimes that colors your perception of what a movie is, and it's long. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes. I was just not getting into the vibe of this thing. But yes, it's way better now, in my opinion. And it's got an 8.2 on IMDb, so it is.
All right.
It has been shoved up to classic status, I believe.
Yeah, it's still, now, make no mistake, it's fucked up that he feels he has to do to her what he does to get her to understand. And I don't agree that he has to do that to get her to understand. There's no getting around the fact that he does torture her to try and basically change her political stance, essentially. And that's unacceptable. So in many ways, he's not just a standard hero. Anyway, that's worth pointing out, that's tragically awful, terrible shit. The end.
All right, everybody, it's time to talk about Mubi. Mubi. There is... What's going on? Oh, is it the dance that Barrett was doing there?
Yeah, he makes me giggle.
Yes. I saw a German film from 2017 called Tiger Milk.
Oh, I was had my eye on that one.
This is the type of movie I don't know if you could really make in America, really, because it's pretty it would be pretty controversial here, I think.
Oh yeah.
Even though I feel like it's I don't know, there's it's hard to explain what it is, what it may be, what the degree of controversy is here, but these are 14-year-old girls who are friends, and one is a native. Actually, I think both of them are native Germans, but one has Iraqi descent, and her mom fled Iraq because of oppression and everything, and moved to Germany, and they are trying to get naturalized. And I think the daughter, the girl's been there all her life. She's been in Germany all her life. She doesn't even know another language other than German. But it's about these two friends, and they want to experience things for the first time over this summer break and everything. And they want to get deflowered for the first time. They want to do all these things. And there's like a billion stories in this thing, very episodic in a way. But it's just about this friendship, and it's a really good movie. It is going to be controversial for some though, because there's a couple of times that in the effort to try to steal money from people, and that's what they do. They go around, they shoplift, they steal money, they do all these little petty crime type of things. But you can tell that the girl from Iraq is really smart. She gets all the good grades and everything like that, while her friend doesn't. But they do all these things, and one of them is, and one of their scams is to go up to people who go to this prostitutes row or whatever, and tell them, hey, it's $100 if you want to do both of us or whatever. And the guy gives them the money, and then they run off and everything. But there is one scene in here where they do this scam, but the guy doesn't pay the money up front. And so they get in this guy's car, and of course you're like, oh my God, this is the stupidest thing ever. Mm-hmm. And they go to a bar, and he invites a friend to come along with him. You're like, oh my God, this is getting really bad. And they're drinking and everything. And they get to the situation where it's time to bring them back to their apartment. And both of them decide, we have to go through with this. We can't get out of this now. So we might as well go ahead, and we said that this is the summer of our defloration and everything like that. We're going to go through with it. So it's up to you to decide whether or not that's something that you should say, well, at least they took control of it, or maybe they didn't have a choice still even.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of one of those type of things, right?
But you said it's a good movie overall?
I thought it was good. I thought it was really interesting. There's also, in the middle of all this, there is another family. There's a bunch of Bosnians in this one apartment. And they're upset that their daughter is dating a Serbian, and it's a really big thing. And there's a lot of fighting in the family. It leads to what is going to end up being a murder of somebody in the movie. And so there's a lot of things going on in this movie, and it's really interesting to watch. But like I said, there is some controversial bits in it, and it depends on your tolerance for that type of thing. Nothing like, I don't think anything terribly salacious, but it is that kind of movie, and I thought it was decent.
Well, despite Mubi now having opened up their library of previous titles that have been in the initial rundown, I've been actually paying more attention to the lineup, the 30-day lineup, than the library this week. But just a quick note, if you do go to Mubi.com/Cinemasins, you get access to all of those 30 movies and the library for free. And it's awesome. But I want to talk real quick about two movies that I saw just recently. One is a short called Ola, and it's directed by Ariane Labed, who's a French actress that was in The Lobster, Chris. So you probably would recognize her. And it's about a mail-order bride from Ukraine that comes to Paris to take care of this guy's mother and to take care of the guy. And it's so fierce. It's so feminist. She doesn't take any shit. And it's awesome. It's really, really fascinating. 27 minutes. The actress herself, forgetting her name, but who plays Ola, is just spectacular. So I would totally recommend that. Only place you can find it, I think, is Mubi. The other one took me way by surprise, and it'll interest you, Jeremy. It'll interest you, Chris. It's called The Unspeakable Act. And I was like, and so it shows, the thumbnail shows a girl and a boy in bed. So the mind starts to wander.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so what this is, on the face of it, is this girl that is in love with her brother, in love with him romantically, in love with him in every way possible. Played by a very, and I mean this in the best possible way, a very Lena Dunham-esque type of mannerisms, this girl. Mm-hmm. She's 17. She's just very Ellen Page in Juno. You know what I mean? Like very straightforward, precocious, plucky, all those P words. And she's very matter of fact about it. Like she's saying, like, you know, he's the perfect guy. He's the perfect guy for me. He just happens to be my brother. And he goes off to college and everything. She has a breakdown. And Jeremy, you would love this because they have long, extended, protracted scenes of therapy. She goes to a therapist.
Awesome.
And her therapist challenges the fuck out of her. She's like, you know, it's not just, I'm going to give you an answer if you ask me a question. I'm going to turn it around on you and ask you what you think about this. And it's such a great representation of the therapeutic process that it rules. That's worth watching for it alone. But there's, as salacious and you know, the thing is the unspeakable act, as salacious as that sounds, it's a very tender-hearted movie. It's a very honest movie, and it's a very engaging movie. I was not prepared for how much I was going to like this. Dan Salit from the U.S. Directed it in 2012. And the last thing I'll say about this, the cool thing about Mubi is that it's got a notebook, like right below the movie itself. When you get done with it, you can go read articles about it. Like the director will do a Q&A. And I've been doing that a lot with both of the movies that I watched this week. It gives you a lot more context, and it's very, very cool. It's Mubi, and we love it. It makes our nipplies hard.
All righty. Did we give them the link and everything in that?
Yeah. So if you want to experience all these movies and the library, which is fantastic, go to mubi.com/cinemasins and 30 days completely free. You can't get a better deal than that. So just do it, and your nipplies will be just as hard as ours.
Nice. Way to go. Then we have Velvet Goldmine, which is another one that I should see, and I haven't.
Oh, man, this movie rules.
Yeah, I heard it's great.
This has a great cast, and it's all about this musician that is trying to come out as being homosexual, but worried about the effects it'll have on his career, ends up faking his own death. This is not a true story. Ends up faking his own death in a performance, his own murder in a performance. And a journalist is fascinated about this and decides to try to find him. And that character is played by Christian Bale. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is the main guy here. Ewan McGregor is another rock star. I think he's in America, ironically. Eddie Izzard is in this. Toni Collette. Like, this movie's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that's on the list. I need to watch this. I've heard about it for years and years and years, and just never have gotten around to it. Real forgettable movie in 2005, The Wedding Date. And yeah, I've seen it. I couldn't tell you much about it. The IMDb says it's Deborah Messing hires a male escort to come with her to a wedding, and
that's what you do. That's what you do, though, right?
That is what you do. And if you're Deborah Messing, you probably have a real difficult time finding dates.
Seriously, like no one will go with me. Better find a hooker.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's played by one of the
it's Dermot Mulroney.
McDermott.
Yeah.
One of the McDermott.
Yeah.
One of the Dermies.
But it's not the real one. It's the imposter. It's the Dermot Mulroney, right?
Yeah, it's Dermot Mulroney.
Is the real McDermott.
Dermot Mulroney had a couple chances to be a romantic lead with this and My Best Friend's Wedding. He's had wedding in both of those titles. What's the deal there?
I know.
What's the deal?
I think he's much better suited to be a character actor and even a dramatic actor than a leading romantic man. Not that he's not handsome.
Well, yeah, like you guys have seen Living in Oblivion, right?
I just watched most of it yesterday. It was on like HBO or some shit.
Oh, it's such a great movie.
Was it really?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
That's awesome that it's actually being shown in different places now. That movie's amazing.
Yeah. He plays that sound guy with the eye patch or whatever. He's really good at it.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know if he's a sound guy or not. I think he might.
He's a sound guy. Yeah.
He's the camera guy.
Camera guy, yeah.
Oh.
That part where James LeGros is trying to make it where his face is more visible, but Steve Buscemi wants his acting or whatever. And Dermot Mulroney goes over to Steve Buscemi and goes, "Okay, what do you want? His acting or his face?" and Buscemi's like, "Well, I was under the impression that I could get both." Great little appearance. Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Great appearance by Peter Dinklage in the movie.
Oh, nice.
I do love the part. I do love the part when he's saying to Buscemi, he's like, "This, I don't get this. Like, I don't even dream about dwarfs."
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
why she would be dreaming about me.
It's like, oh, it's a fucking dream. There must be a dwarf in it. It's like, I'm a dwarf and I don't even have fucking dreams with dwarfs in it.
Oh man,
because he keeps telling him that he has to laugh, and he's like, "Why?"
Yeah.
Because it's fucked up. It's a dream, and he's like, goes on that rant.
oh man,
Wedding Date was instantly forgettable. Welcome to the Punch. Do not know this movie.
All I remember, I've seen this movie. All I remember is that it's basically a fucking Guy Ritchie movie that Guy Ritchie had nothing to do with. Like, it's such a carbon copy. It's like, you know, those movies that came out after Pulp Fiction that wanted to be like Pulp Fiction, playing with
2 Days in the Valley
and shit like that. Yeah.
It's
like that. It wants to be Lock, Stock, and Two Barrels, or Snatch, but it's not.
Well, the guy who directed it was some sort of miscellaneous crew on Layer Cake, which is a movie I don't think we got around to. Is it because it's not London, Layer Cake?
Correct.
Layer Cake was the Matthew Vaughn that was like was very much Guy Ritchie-esque, and he had produced those first two, Lock, Stock, and Snatch. But welcome to Lock, Stock, and Snatch. But welcome to the Punch. I have never heard of it, but it has also got Mark Strong in it.
Yes, it does.
When Jeremy said he was in everything, he wasn't kidding, because he's in everything.
I was not.
I believe I saw this. What a Girl Wants, Amanda Bynes movie.
What a girl wants, what a girl needs.
Yeah. I guarantee you that song is in it.
I guarantee you that song is the inspiration for it.
Yeah. American teenager learns that her father is a wealthy British politician running for
Colin
office.
Firth, right?
It is.
Yep.
And Kelly Preston is in it as well. Although she is eager to find him, she realizes it could cause a scandal and cost him the election.
And she's on the poster going like this.
Yeah,
looking
man.
very sexy.
She's so American.
They probably play London Calling in that movie too.
Yeah. What did you say, Jeremy?
I said they probably play London Calling when she's making the trip.
Oh yeah, guaranteed. When she gets in there, it's
London Calling.
She was pretty. She was the hyper religious girl in Easy A, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yes.
Wimbledon. Holy fuck!
I saw this movie.
Paul Bettany, Kirsten Dunst, and he's like the 37th ranked pro tennis player.
Yeah,
and he does a for love of the game type of thing here, where he suddenly starts being awesome because people are underestimating him. But yeah, I mean it's one of those type of movies. They didn't believe him. He's too old. He's so old.
He's also getting his joint worked on by Kirsten Dunst.
He's getting his joint. What you need to do is get your joint worked on.
I'm getting my nut off this trip, and you are not going to fuck it up for me.
Next on the list, Without a Clue.
Yeah, baby.
Is this? Oh, I know I've seen this.
This is Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley again. Again.
Maybe I haven't seen this.
Oh,
this
really?
is a Sherlock Holmes as well. This is a drunken Sherlock Holmes. No, I haven't seen this.
Okay, so have you seen this, Jeremy?
Mm-mm.
This is the one where Dr. Watson is the genius. The Ben Kingsley character is the genius. But he's been writing stories and stuff like that. But to solve a real crime, they actually, the police or Scotland Yard goes to him to find Sherlock Holmes, and he has to produce a Sherlock Holmes. And so he gets an actor, Michael Caine, to act as Sherlock Holmes, but he is, quote, without a clue.
This sounds awesome.
It's amazing. It's awesome. I love it.
I'm totally
I watched
watching
it a million times.
Yeah, this sounds like right up my alley, and for some reason it's missed me. It's totally missed me.
Yeah, this was one of those late 80s movies that I just wore out on VHS.
Mm-hmm. The Wolfman. Oh boy. This movie sucks.
I heard somebody in a review that I fairly respect, or maybe it was a tweet, that actually said, I went back and watched this and it's not nearly as bad as you think.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that being
I saw that tweet through a response where somebody was like, this guy, whoever said that is somebody who does these kind of takes all the time.
Oh, okay.
So like when the guy was responding to that tweet, he was like, yeah, like he just can't, I mean, he had something smart ass to say about this guy talking about the Wolfman, but it was basically, you can't trust what this guy says. But the Wolfman, oh, it's so fucking horrible, man. This was a joyless experience, just like thoroughly joyless when I watched it. And we had so Joe Johnston directed it, and Joe Johnston's been around forever. He's directed movies, like tons of movies that you've heard of, like Jurassic Park 3 and The Rocketeer and stuff like that. He's been in a lot of movies.
Small Soldiers?
That was Joe Dante.
I knew it was a Joe.
Yeah, it was definitely a Joe. But yeah, this movie, is just bad. Benicio del Toro is the Wolfman. Anthony Hopkins plays his dad.
It's like Teen Wolf.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly
where the
like
guy comes out and he's got the big bushy gray.
He's like, I should have told you this earlier about your Wolfmanness, but I waited until you were a famous high school basketball player.
You saw that Universal's going to make a Ryan Gosling Wolfman movie.
Oh, shit.
The joke I chose to make on Twitter was, who's Emma Stone going to play? The joke I wanted to make, is because Wolfman movies always turn out awesome.
Yeah.
Because between Wolf and Wolfman, I don't have any interest in another Wolfman movie.
No.
Even when Harry Potter brought a Wolfman into that third episode, I was like, I don't need this. I don't need werewolves. There's been like one good werewolf movie.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not sure if
that was Teen Wolf.
I was thinking London or Paris, whichever one came first.
American Werewolf in London. Yeah, that one's good. The other ones, like there's not much to explore anymore. They made this like ridiculous. There's actually two movies. Wolf Cop came out a few years ago.
Oh yeah,
and another Wolf Cop, and those are amusing. They aren't good movies by any stretch of the imagination. But there's not much to explore with the Wolfman anymore. I mean, unless they just take it into a radically different direction in some way. Like I don't know how much we can mine out of the fact that, these people are turning into wolves at night and turning into killers, and they have no idea that they're doing it, and then are normal human beings the next day. And I don't know if there's much to mine out of that. Anymore.
Wolf, when was that? 95 or something like that?
94.
At least there was it was tonally all over the place, and it's an awful movie.
Yeah.
But at least it had some fun in it, like some sense of humor about itself. This one, the Wolfman, is like you said, like joyless. It's just it's just grungy and nasty, and like, why do I want to watch this?
Yeah. Other movies. So James Bond, obviously, almost all the James Bonds end up in London somehow. Somehow, because he has to go into MI6 and get his missions and shit like that. But most of the movies are globe-trotting all over the world. And what is, anybody got a favorite James Bond?
The one that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Skyfall's probably up there. I like Casino Royale, but I think Casino Royale is like 20 minutes too long.
Yeah, it is.
So
because it ends,
for me.
The climax of Casino Royale is once he gets done with the poker tournament and everything, and then there's this whole thing like, well, we got to also make sure that we kill Ava Green and like have him suffer for it for the next 3 movies.
And then you've got that crazy fucking torture scene, where he's getting his balls beat in, and then fucking not Christoph Waltz gets fucking offed right after that. So it's just not. I don't like.
But my favorite. I don't know. I haven't reassessed, but after I watched all of them before Casino Royale came out, The Spy Who Loved Me was my favorite one out of that. And that's a Roger Moore, and I know a lot of people like the Sean Connery stuff better, and probably for sure technically those Sean Connery, those early Sean Connerys, the Thunderballs of the world are better. But the one that I enjoyed the most was The Spy Who Loved Me. And I also liked the George Lazenby one, the On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I thought that was a great one.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, so other ones that could probably just round out the whole thing. Christopher Robin, I have seen this. This is pretty much Peter Pan, Hook all over again.
He doesn't remember Pooh.
He doesn't remember Pooh. Pooh has to come back to him. He's a dumbass. He's boring. He's all that bullshit. and Pooh shows up in a time of need. I don't know what's so funny, but
repeat it.
Is it the Pooh part?
I keep thinking of that Seinfeld episode when George gets smarter by not having sex and Elaine gets dumber by not having sex, and she's doing a crossword puzzle and she's like, 4 letters, Winnie the, and her boyfriend goes Pooh, and she goes Pooh.
Yes. Ewan McGregor, and not Jude Law this time, plays Christopher Robin, and Ewan McGregor is, like I said, he's just a boring asshole, and he needs an insertion of Pooh in his life.
It's getting me every time.
And we briefly mentioned it. The Constant Gardener is on this list. Another, this one was, I believe, Fernando Moraes, who did City of God, directed The Constant Gardener. This was his follow-up to City of God. I have not seen the movie since it came out, but I remember not liking it too much.
That's about a dude who just refuses to stop gardening, right?
He refuses.
He's out there right now, man.
Yeah. There is a point. Oh. There is a point when his wife comes out and says, "You need to stop gardening." And he's like, "No." And it's the biggest scene of the movie. But no, Ray Fiennes, Rachel Weisz, Danny Houston. But it's got a 7.4 on the IMDb, so it apparently has a following. I just haven't seen it since it came out. The Iron Lady, the Margaret Thatcher, Meryl Streep movie. She won the Oscar for this. I remember this being, it was weird because, Meryl Streep is nominated for everything every time she does any movie. And there were movies that came out long ago, and she had already won 2. So this wasn't a makeup Oscar at any point. And she'd already won 2, and she had a ton of other performances that they could have given her the win for, but the Iron Lady is the one that ended up deciding to give her 3rd Oscar for. And I think over a lot of better, I can't remember who all was nominated that year, but I think there were some others that I would have rather seen win.
Did you see this movie, Chris?
This is going to make me sound shitty, but no, because I'm sitting here saying other people should have won the Oscar, even though I haven't seen this performance. But
seen this performance.
but the performance I saw was not as much as the ones that I wanted. I'm going to look up the 2011 Oscars here.
Jennifer Lawrence, Amy Adams.
So we have Michelle Williams, My Week with Marilyn, Viola Davis, The Help, Rooney Mara, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and Glenn Close for Albert Nobbs. I think Glenn Close was favored to win for Albert Nobbs, and Meryl Streep swooped in and stole it from her. But no, that's I thought there were more in there that were. So yeah, it might have been one of those where the category was split up enough that Meryl Streep ended up winning that one. But I think the story around that was that Glenn Close was supposed to win that. Meryl Streep ended up taking it.
She wasn't knobby enough.
She wasn't knobby enough. That's true.
Needed to be knobbier.
Yep. Then Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. So why was this in the remnant?
Because I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it. Okay.
I have not seen it.
I didn't look at your title above that. I just saw the might be worth discussing. I didn't see the other part of it where you're like, I haven't seen these. You haven't seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels?
Nope. On the list of shame.
Oh my God, dude. This movie is so fucking you that it's like it practically comes with a Barrett Share photograph with it.
We know where you live.
Jeremy, you said you don't like Guy Ritchie movies, right?
No. I hated Aladdin. Lock, Stock is what I would call the best Guy Ritchie movie. And I definitely love that movie. And it was something we picked up at the video store, Josh and I, not knowing who Guy Ritchie was or what this movie was. I'm sure it had something on the box like Tarantino thought it was awesome.
Right.
And so we picked it up, and it's so fucking funny, even though it's a caper. It's like, I would say, Barrett, you would dig it the most, but I still haven't watched A Simple Favor, even though you guys keep telling me.
I'm gonna slip you this movie, Barrett. I'm gonna slip it to you. But yeah, it's a group of friends. One of them basically takes their entire savings and plays in a poker game, and he's really awesome at poker, and he is on the verge of winning a ton, but he's in a game that is rigged because one of the players has another person looking through a peephole basically at that guy's cards, and in a major hand where like tons of money goes in, he loses it all because he's pretty sure he has the best hand in that thing. They're playing some kind of different poker. I'm not familiar with that kind of poker that they're playing in that game, but they lose all this money, and so he and in the middle of it, the guy he's playing against loans him the money to continue playing in the hand because it goes that far up in stakes. And so after the hand is over, they owe this dude a bunch of money. So then they have to plot, how do we get this much money in a short period of time and not be killed for doing it. And in the middle of all this, all of these schemes that they keep coming up with involve all sorts of other gangsters that keep coming in to the picture. And there are a million different stories going on all at once. And there's so much fun plotting in it. It's very high on my list of one of my favorite movies to pop in and just have on as background a lot of times, but I love watching it. It's great.
All right. I'm sold.
Yeah. So when I stumbled on Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, I would have never thought that was under a list of movies that you haven't seen. That's why it completely like escaped my head that that's what this list was. The Madness of King George. I believe this is Nigel Hawthorne who plays King George III in this. He was nominated, I believe. Nigel Hawthorne. I know Jeremy knows from Demolition Man. But I'm trying to remember if I saw this movie.
And he actually suffered from some sort of mental illness, right? That was
the
whole thing.
Yeah. And I'm trying to see if I don't think I ever saw this. Helen Mirren's in it.
They called him the Mad King until the Kingslayer stabbed him in the back in the Iron Throne Room.
There was a point where he's like, "Kill them all," and that's when Jamie came in there and slayed his ass.
Barrett, have you still not watched most of Game of Thrones?
I've watched.
Did you get my joke? Okay, so you understood my joke.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. You were giving me a face that I couldn't quite tell.
No. Because I watched the first 3 seasons and then I watched the last season. So I guess I'm evenly, like, slightly over half.
All right, that's good.
But yeah, Hawthorne and Helen Mirren were both nominated for this movie. Moll Flanders, the Morgan Freeman movie with Robin Wright. I've never seen Moll Flanders.
There was all these like fucking movies like Mary Riley and Moll Flanders and
Mary
like
Riley's an awful movie. Oh my God.
Riley.
Oh Jesus!
I own a DVD case of Moll Flanders that has no disc in it, and I think that probably about sums up that movie pretty well.
The only thing I even know tangentially to this movie is that there's a Simpsons joke where Ned opens the leftorium. I think it's when he opens the leftorium, and he's like, I just opened up a shop here in the mall. You might as well call me Moll Flanders. Nicholas Nickleby. I've never seen this.
This is another Dickens. I've seen one movie version of this. I think it was a TV movie, and I didn't watch all of it.
This has Charlie Hunnam as Nicholas Nickleby. It's also got Jamie Bell in it, Christopher Plummer, Jim Broadbent again.
Jamie
Mark Strong.
Charlie Hunnam's
probably
not British originally, is he?
I think he is.
Wow, I only know him from that Pacific Rim.
Yeah, he was born in Newcastle, England.
Okay, all right, good enough.
Yeah, it's him, and then they have who else is in this? There's another. Oh, Anne Hathaway is in this Nicholas Nickleby. But I've never seen it. Notes on a Scandal. I have seen this. Is this Judi Dench and Cate Blanchett?
Yeah.
God, I saw this. I was in New York at the time, and I was in the middle of seeing a billion movies that were nominated for Oscars. And I just don't remember much about this. A veteran high school teacher befriends a younger art teacher who is having an affair with one of her 15-year-old students. However, her intentions with this new friend also go well beyond a platonic friendship. I don't remember enough about it.
I don't remember it. I saw it.
Yeah,
You
same
saw
here.
I saw it. I like movies where... Never mind.
One Day, Anne Hathaway romantic comedy. I have never seen this.
Oh, this is the one with Jimmy Boy, poker player, 21, right?
Oh, Jim Sturgis?
I think so, right? Isn't it Jim Sturgis? One Day.
I don't think I've seen this movie.
Poker Boy, 21.
Yeah, it is Jim Sturgis.
All right. I think, isn't there like a supernatural kind of thing to this movie? I feel like there's a supernatural kind of thing to this movie.
After spending the night together on the night of their college graduation, Dexter and Emma are shown each year on the same date to see where they are in their lives. They are sometimes together, sometimes not on that day.
Oh, okay. So it's like Sliding Doors meets the Beyond or Before movies.
Yeah,
Beyond.
or maybe even About Time or something like that.
Yeah.
It's got a 7.0 on the IMDb.
All right.
The Painted Veil. That's another movie I have seen, but I thought this was boring as fuck when I watched it. British medical doctor fights a cholera epidemic in a small Chinese village while being trapped at home in a loveless marriage to an unfaithful wife. And yeah, it's got Naomi Watts, Edward Norton, Liev Schreiber. But yeah, I remember seeing that and I was just like, man, this movie's boring. I can't take this. And it's probably great. I just saw it under bad circumstances. Passion, 2012 De Palma movie. Have I not? No, I haven't seen this. De Palma has made a lot of very like strange movies in the past couple of like decade or two.
Jeremy, have you seen this? This has Rachel McAdams and Noomi Rapace.
Wait, maybe I have seen that.
Yeah, it seems like something that you'd be interested in.
I like how you put that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I haven't seen this.
Yeah, there was he did a movie called Femme Fatale in 2002 that was just
I've seen that.
Very De Palma, but it's not very good.
Right.
And then he did The Black Dahlia, which was based on the James Ellroy book, and that movie's not very good at all either. But Passion, never have seen that. Repulsion, Roman Polanski.
Passion, Repulsion.
Yeah, Repulsion. Now, talk about a movie that should just have Barrett's face all over it is Repulsion. This movie is right the fuck up your alley, dude.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. I've seen this a couple of times. Catherine Deneuve is in this. But yeah, it's this movie is something that you definitely need to see. I would highly recommend it for Barrett.
This is she is repulsed by men, right?
Yes.
And there's something to do with their next door neighbor or something like that. It sounds very Hitchcockian, even though it's Roman Polanski.
Yeah,
but, I've had this recommended.
She's having a lot of like terrible visions and things like that during it, and I think she's sex repulsed more than just men repulsed. But yeah, it's along that line. But that's a highly recommended movie for many people, but especially you, Barrett.
We got some homework to do.
Yeah. The Rhythm Section, that's a movie that came out earlier this year, and Barrett points out that no one saw, and yeah, I think it record-breakingly no one saw.
Like, I think Aaron Deister was the only person that saw it.
Yeah. And which is it's weird. It's not terribly weird because it looks terrible, but like it's weird because there were so many trailers. Like every movie I watched had a Rhythm Section trailer on it. And you would think that would be enough to get like at least a few people to go watch the movie opening weekend. But I think it had a record setting for a wide release, lowest amount of gross on an opening weekend.
That's crazy.
Run, Fatboy Run. I have seen this. This is Simon Pegg. This is a movie that he's sort of branching out into drama on this one, although it's lighthearted and everything. This is the one where he perceives, I think his ex-girlfriend starts dating somebody. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember that whole thing. I think his ex-girlfriend starts dating somebody and he wants to improve himself. So he wants to run in a marathon. And so he starts training to run in a marathon to try to, I don't know if he's trying to get her back though. 5 years after jilting his pregnant fiance on their wedding day, out of shape Dennis decides to run a marathon to win her back. So yeah, he is trying to win her back.
And she's dating Hank Azaria.
Yes. That will make anybody want to improve themselves when they see that their ex-girlfriend is now dating Hank Azaria.
You know, it happens in Great Expectations. Gwyneth Paltrow does that. It happens in Along Came Polly. He's the scuba. He's saying, you want to go scuba? and he's all buff and everything. And he fucks Deborah Messing like in the boat.
Yeah. I don't mean to be disparaging of Hank Azaria. He always plays these smarmy characters, is all I'm saying. And and he's like, that's one thing that people always bring up. That motherfucker is cut, man. He is well in shape.
Yeah, I love him in The Birdcage, man.
Yeah.
If you can steal a movie from Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, and you're an all timer in my book, man.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was it. Is it Brockmire that's been on FX? That's been. I haven't
caught it yet, but it gets great reviews.
That's been on for like 4 or 5 seasons now. I saw the first season, but I didn't realize it was a show that was going to keep going like that and everything. So I didn't continue watching it. Secrets and Lies, Mike Leigh again, and this is another movie I need to see. It's another one of those that I've missed out on, and I think this is generally considered his best, Secrets and Lies.
Is this Ian McKellen?
There are a lot of people in this, which means it's right up your alley, Barrett.
Well, there's a lot of secrets to keep and a lot of lies to tell about it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people, though.
There's a lot of people
Brenda
to
Blethyn,
handle
right?
It's got Timothy Spall, Brenda Blethyn, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, Leslie Manville's in it. Not a lot of like super famous people.
All right.
Not at least that are credited at the very beginning of the IMDb's thing. It doesn't look like there's very many.
By the way, how do they figure how to credit people on there? Because sometimes it's in order of appearance and sometimes it's by name, and it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason.
It is the way the movie credits the people.
Oh, I see. So if the credits roll in order of appearance, then that's how it appears on the IMDb.
How it appears on the IMDb.
Interesting.
And then I don't know. There's probably some other variations other than the order that the credits do. But most of the time, that's what they're following.
That's interesting.
But anyway,
I ran into that for when I was looking at it for Uncut Gems. It was like all these names of very unusual looking names, and it was the Ethiopian miners.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "What the fuck? What is going on here?" Because at the beginning of the movie, at least, it's credited Adam Sandler, Lakeith Stanfield, and on and on and on. But then I guess that IMDb takes the end credits and transposes those. Anyway,
yeah. Vera Drake. I don't know this movie at all.
She was an abortionist. It's Imelda Staunton, I think.
Okay.
Never saw it, but I think she was nominated for an Oscar. Or she was not an abortionist. She was one of the only people in London that was offering it.
It's another Mike Leigh movie. Imelda Staunton, Jim Broadbent. Once again, it's a neck and neck between Broadbent and Mark Strong for most mentions in one podcast. But nominated for 3 Oscars. Staunton, Leigh, and Best Writing for Mike Leigh as well. I'm going to have to get on a Mike Leigh kick. This is one of these directors that I have sorely missed. Withnail and I do not know this. I've heard of this movie, but I don't know what it's about. Is this based on a book?
I believe so. It has Richard E. Grant in it. And I think he was. Oh, he may have been nominated.
It does not look like it's based on a book, but it is. So Bruce Robinson wrote and directed this. This is an original thing. But no, it doesn't appear to have any nominations. But
I just remember hearing a lot about it when he was that movie that you hated with Melissa McCarthy, Jeremy. The Forgive
just
Me.
The one.
He was nominated for "Can You Ever Forgive Me?" I think is the name of that movie.
Oh well, he's good in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's fine in it too. I just don't like her. I don't like her character.
This one I should have seen, but I have not. Witness for the Prosecution. This is Billy Wilder. This is based on an Agatha Christie novel as well. This is a movie that I probably need to put on my list immediately. 8.4 on the IMDb.
Jeez.
And yeah, this is a movie that unfortunately I haven't seen. I'm going to remedy that soon. And then the Young Lions, Marlon Brando, Montgomery Clift, Dean Martin. I've never seen that as well.
I believe it's a war movie, and
Yeah,
it's just
World
one of
War
those
II
things
drama.
that I should see, and I'll get around to it at some point. We've all got some homework to do.
I think this was before Brando was huge too. I think like before he was a big star.
Oh yeah,
I
love me some early Brando. That man was attractive.
Yeah, he was. He was.
You're laughing
1958.
at me.
1958.
Sexy
So
looking man.
he had done On the Waterfront. So he was up there already. So yeah, this was after On the Waterfront. Okay, so that does it for our road trip through London.
Through London.
We never have to talk about England again.
Never.
We've got a very special episode coming at you, I believe, next week, by the way. That will be lots of fun. And also, now's as good a time as any to mention that our sister podcast, the quote B team of Cinemasins, doing Behind the Sins, or BTS, is going on their 1 year anniversary. So congratulations to those guys, Aaron and Danae and Jonathan. They've done a great job. They really have done a great job with that podcast. I enjoy listening to it, hearing other perspectives on, the videos themselves, the movies, the shows, all that stuff. Good on them.
Yeah. Is that the crux of the announcement is that they've been on for a year? Is there anything special that they're doing?
There is. They're actually collecting best of moments.
Yeah, you send them your favorite moment from a BTS podcast and a timestamp if possible, and they're going to try and put together kind of a clips dealy deal for all their listeners.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
You can send it to the email address of bts@cinemasins.com. That really shouldn't have been that hard to remember. bts@cinemasins.com.
Mm-hmm.
We've got so many fucking email addresses, though, and so many things to keep track of.
It's true.
So, yeah, you didn't remember that? Fuck it. I'm fine with it. Everybody else should be, too. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this week. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We're also on Cinemasins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter, SoundCloud. We're also on Discord. If you want to get on Discord, you can go to our Reddit page and find the link on the right side and go there, or you can go to the private messages on Facebook and ask for a link there. We also are on Patreon. If you ever wanted to go on Patreon, and there's some bonus content, some bonus videos. We do some questions for the SinCast on it. Some good stuff that we put out there. But that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Scherer. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I do like the red shirt thing. I was not aware there was a memo going out.
I'll tell you what, if the three of us go on a Star Trek mission today, you are going to be the sole survivor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That some sort of sin in a TV sins recently that just randomly mentioned red shirts, and I did not know or remember that was a Star Trek thing. So so I looked up. I put red shirts into Google, and you would think such a well-known common term for Star Trek people who get killed would be one of the first searches. But what came up was like some terrorist organization.
Oh shit.
No.
And so I went back on the notes and I said, is this about some terrorist organization? And they were like, no, it's like Star Trek, like the people who die. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. That's what they call those.
Jesus Christ. And it cuts to Adam Sandler going, holy shit, I'm gonna come. And so I cut out the shit, but I'm like, should I cut out the cum because it's funnier with it?
it's there's all this unnecessary stuff, like minor frustrations that keep building and stuff that he comes in and like, oh, there's Kevin Garnett's bodyguards. They're kicking out the other guy's bodyguards. And then he's like trying to get into his own store, but those bodyguards are like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is my store. And just like, he goes in and there's like all these people always wandering by wanting stuff from him. Like the one guy wants his Michael Jackson pendant back. There's another guy who's like, you've been giving me these fake Rolex watches. I want my money back. There's all these like
Simon looking motherfucker.
Yeah. There's all these people that keep doing stuff. And then there's like, he's in the middle of that Kevin Garnett thing where he's like, totally failing to sell him anything, and then that box comes in with the big the opal, and like during the middle of that, you have one of his employees coming up and saying, "Hey man, I've been working for you 8 years. Blah 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 blah. This isn't right. This is not right. What are you doing? You looking at fish? What are you looking at? Oh, that's bullshit."
He's like, they ripped my shirt. He's like, here's an Armani shirt. It's worth $500.
It's not about the shirt, man.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Oh my God. As soon as he gets that fucking ring, he goes straight to this dude. This very authentic New York looking dude, by the way. The guy who
you gotta think that that's a real pawn guy, man. He talks it too well to be an actor.
I know.
All right.
Went to this guy.
I'm gonna put 7% VIG, $2,100 on the ring. You don't come back by Friday, it's my ring.
It's all memorabilia. He all talks like this.
But I had a very weird day where I watched this movie I'd never seen that you've heard of and probably seen, The Last Emperor.
Yeah.
The Bertolucci movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which won a bunch of awards and kind of bored me.
Best picture.
And then I watched this really terribly titled movie called Official Secrets, which sounds like a spoof, right? Like a spoof of Snowden or something.
Yeah,
but
it should like have an exclamation point at the end.
Yeah, but it actually is like Snowden, and it's about a whistleblower in London. Keira Knightley plays her, who leaked a memo that exposed that the US and the UK were basically strong-arming other countries into approving the war in Iraq. This is like in 2002, 2003. And, it's not a great movie, but she's such a good actress. I was pretty riveted the whole time. It doesn't really hit too many beats you're not expecting. Ralph Fiennes plays her lawyer. He's pretty good. But I really enjoyed that one. Whereas The Last Emperor, I was like, okay.
Was that a thing? Was that like a true story or a true theory
or
whatever it is?
Yeah, in fact, the last scene of the movie is they decide not to press charges because they have to admit in court they don't think they can win. And so she walks out and there's all these reporters and turns around and it's the real girl instead of Keira Knightley. And it's the real news footage of her answering questions after her charges were dropped.
Anyway, I think the Last Emperor had this cachet of being like the first movie to get shot inside the Forbidden City ever or something.
Yep.
And it's a 3.5 hour epic, and then during the middle of the 80s, that's all they awarded.
Gandhi out of Africa. Yeah.
God damn it, man! It was like you might as well like as soon as it was announced, it had the Oscar.
I mean, it looked pretty. I just was, it was mostly boring to me, and I'm not trying to be offensive. The man, might be a good guy. I don't know.
The man.
Yes.
But, the movie wasn't very entertaining for me.
Have you seen Lucy in the Sky yet?
I have. I've watched it twice.
Oh yeah,
really?
Well, since it came on HBO like a week or two ago. And it's bad, man.
Yeah, it is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen it all the way through, but I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah. And
I'm like, God, why is this like Noah Hawley did this movie?
Yeah, man.
It made no sense.
It doesn't.
And I don't even. How do you get Natalie Portman and John Hamm together and have no sparks whatsoever?
None. None. Maybe they don't like each other in real life or something, but there is no chemistry there.
I don't know. It doesn't seem believable that they're having amazing sex.
Yeah.
Like they keep talking about.
I don't think I'm going to watch it a third time. It's not going to be my new Cloud Atlas where I'm determined to find something that's not there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I haven't seen it all the way through. I intend to at least see the parts that I haven't seen yet. But like, God, I mean, I can see why that was so terribly panned.
Mm-hmm.
Even without the nudity, like none of those sex scenes that she's ever in seem all that sexy. And a lot of times that's the point. Like the one in Annihilation. But the one in Lucy in the Sky, that should be like burning desire. And it's not. It's it just doesn't come off that way at all.
Nope.
It's just like,
nope.
Yeah. It's
You
pretty
can't
much
see
like
the
that.
bottom.
Except for that part.
Step one, put it in. Step two, pull it out.
Except for that one part where she's like, pile drive me.
Yes.
I did go back and watch that scene in Meaning of Life, by the way, where John Cleese invites his wife in to teach sex ed. And the joke is that none of the boys are interested in this at all. Mm-hmm. Like they're fucking off and they're passing notes and stuff like that. And John Cleese is like, Hammond, your attention, please. I see that you're passing that note. And then he's like, have we talked about vaginal juices? So we've done that. And then his wife comes in. She's like, oh, hello. And she's taking off all her clothes and everything. And he takes off. They're talking about like meeting the couple for dinner like later on that night. And then they're like, okay, now you see that the vagina is lubricated and I thrust. Pay attention, Parker. I thrust again.